All right, everybody, welcome in. This is the Ramp Booth exclusively on a2dradio.com, live here at All Campus down in Ocean City between 10th and 11th Street. Come on in, get your hats. We got all kinds of new stuff. We got pillows. We got every college hat you could possibly imagine. I'm sure there's maybe a Texas hat down the
Oh,
line
we
there
have a couple
somewhere.
nice
There's
Texas
Georgia
ones.
hats down here. And you can never go wrong with a Bama hat here on draft night. Here, we're getting you ready. We got pro football talk coming up after us, and then the boys are going to be rocking and rolling all night long on A2D Radio, live reacting to the draft. Myself, Sports Hounds, All Campus, and a City That Never Sleeps compilation here for the next hour. Jets, Eagles, general NFL talk, and then we're making our way over to the Tropicana Sports Book, where we're having some drinks. I'll be easy to spot in my A2D shirt, and it's just a good festive time. This is like the kickoff for the next NFL season. We do have breaking news to discuss right before we hit the live button. Lamar Jackson getting himself paid by the Baltimore Ravens. I almost posted on Facebook this morning that I thought the Colts were going to jump in for him, maybe Atlanta. I don't know why those teams didn't. I think they would be contenders with them, but now the Ravens are continue to be
It's a
contenders.
big price tag.
Big price tag, but he gets $5 more guaranteed than Jalen Hurts purely because he was, as you put it, John, last to the bowl.
Yep.
Last to the feeding trough. So they're going to have Lamar. They're going to have Odell Beckham down there. And the Ravens pick, I guess, in the 20s with the wild card loss. So quarterback out of the question there. They can get weapons. They can get defensive people. I don't know what they're going to do, but the Ravens are back for real. I think they would have won that playoff game with Lamar
With
last
Lamar
year.
in? Yeah, probably.
Cincinnati did not come to play that game, and they squeaked by a couple questionable decisions by a good coach down there in Harbaugh. So they're locked and loaded, ready to go. We're brought to you by All Campus. This is the Ramp Booth. Throw your comments in the chat. What you think about Lamar? We got the Eagles picking at 10. We got Aaron Rodgers fresh in New York. So we have a lot to talk about in this hour. Let's go to our poll question. Our poll question tonight is the top 4 picks in the NFL draft will all be quarterbacks. John, why don't you attack that?
Yeah, I'll start off. I'm going to start off simple. It would be ideal if this was the scenario for the Eagles.
Big time.
Right? If the top 4 picks are all quarterbacks, that gives the Philadelphia Eagles a slew of moves to where someone could slide down to 10, or it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to go up and get the guy that they really covet. If that's Carter, even if that's Will Anderson, right? It's not going to be that hard to move up only 5 picks. You would have to look at, there's talks now of Tennessee not taking a quarterback. I think that's a little smoke and mirrors.
What do you mean, Houston?
Houston, I'm sorry, the Texans, yeah. I think they are going to end up taking a quarterback, and C.J. Stroud, I just don't see how you don't pass on him. You're going to regret it. And then Tennessee moving up to the 3. I think that's going to happen. That's my thing that they do, and they're going to take Anthony Richardson. And then you got the Colts, who seem like they love Will Levis going 4. That's how I'm hoping this whole draft night lays out. And then the Eagles can do whatever they want. If they really want to move up, they can definitely move up. But then some good player will slide to us at 10. Whether that's the guy that everyone wants in Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Or that could be Carter. Or we could, again, move up. Right? If Will Anderson is a guy that we covet, are you not giving up 2 first-rounders to go get him? Because I would.
Yes.
Right? I'm giving up 10 and 30 to go get that guy. If I come out with that guy alone in the first round, it's a great draft.
Top 4 picks will be quarterbacks. I don't see how you can look at Will Levis and just be like, okay, this guy's going to save my
There's
franchise.
talks about him going number 1. He's saying it.
Not on my board. Yeah, if I was that pick, I would tell everybody and their mom if I was Will Levis, I was going number 1.
I guess.
You could say whatever you want. Talk is cheap, but it sounds like the Panthers know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's Stroud or Young or a wild card. So that's going to be a quarterback.
Right.
I mean, Brinkman, the GM's picking Will Anderson at
At
2.
2?
Yeah. He's the best football player in the draft,
Yeah.
in my opinion. You have 12 too as well if you're
Correct.
Houston. So I think this is a good year for Houston to get 2 football players
Yeah, two stud players instead of taking a risky quarterback, I
when
guess.
you
Yeah.
have absolutely nothing around them besides
Correct.
Damian Pierce.
Right.
And then you also have a defensive coach in D'Amico Ryans. I think that's going to be a screaming success down there
Right.
in Houston with Ryans. D'Amico Ryan. So, and then Arizona, I mean, that's the trade spot.
Yes.
So if someone trades up to 3, that's going to be for a quarterback.
Yeah, and
But
then
if,
there's a multiple. I mean, you got Atlanta, Vegas, Tennessee. There's a slew of teams that are looking to move up to that spot.
but I mean, Arizona is just a disaster.
Yeah, they need to get as many picks as possible to
Well,
try to fill out that roster. That's just
I also
atrocious.
don't think by the time this weekend's over that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be on that team.
No, he'll be going to. Yeah.
I think the G-Men or the Patriots make a lot of sense there.
Yeah, he's a luxury that they just don't need or
And
afford right now.
Buda Baker, their
He's
second
another
best
one.
player, he wants a trade too.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if Howie jumped in on that one. If the board falls right,
Correct.
I think this is a year for the Eagles where you get like 2 or 3 guys that are good.
Difference makers, as
I'm
they
going
say.
quality over quantity in this draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. You have something crazy like 12, 14 picks next year. You can build your depth next year because you're in absolute win now mode. I said it after Jalen signed. Any year with Jalen Hurts healthy and playing, if you don't make the NFC Championship game, it's a total failure. It's a waste. It's a loss.
I agree.
Like the reporter asked Giannis last night if he thought this season was a failure, and he kind of copped out to it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dog. Like, you lost in 5 to the 8 seed. Like, yeah, your season was a failure. You were the number 1 seed with home court, and not only did you lose, you just got completely boat raced.
Lost in 5, yeah.
Lost in 5. So, yeah, Giannis, sorry, you're a good player, but your season was a failure. That's the exact mindset I have with the Philadelphia Eagles over the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
However long Jalen's here. That's why you need to use these luxury picks that you have from the Saints. You're never, ever, ever going to be in the top 10 ever again unless a tragedy happens with Jalen Hurts. That's the only way you're going to be this high again in the next decade. So
you hope so, yeah.
You have a running back in Bijan Robinson who's a unique playmaker, a complete difference maker. He's way better than Miles Sanders. I don't care what anybody says. Miles went for 1,300 behind this offensive line. I wouldn't put it out of the question that Bijan Robinson could go for at least 1,500. At least 1,500 with this offensive line and the way this team likes to play football.
Right.
So that's my pick at 10. And then you have Carter. If they trade up for Anderson, I mean, I'm absolutely 100% quality over quantity.
What's the
draft.
scenario that you would trade up for? Is it just Anderson?
It depends on how high Carter goes. I am working under the assumption that Jalen Carter is going to go ahead of Bijan Robinson.
So am I.
So, but Bijan Robinson could go ahead of
the earliest
Carter.
Robinson goes is probably what, 8? Right to Atlanta.
Once I see Jalen Carter or Bijan Robinson fly off the board, I'm getting right on the phone, moving up as high as I can to the next pick so I can grab the other one.
Okay.
I think Howie, I put it on Facebook today. I think it's a total lock that one of those guys is an Eagle.
You think it has to be one of those two?
It doesn't have to be, but like if we come out of the first round with something like Broderick Jones with our first pick, like
I'm the same way. It's a pick, but it's a solid pick.
Okay.
I don't think there's a bad pick besides taking a wide receiver, in my opinion, and a quarterback. I don't think there's a bad pick. Any other positions open?
Because like I would put Njigba Smith as like my dark horse tonight for this team.
Yeah, see, I think that's a bad pick.
I don't understand why, like, Howie's getting into a bad habit if he picks a lineman.
Oh, why?
Because all you're doing is redshirt in these draft picks, and you're kicking can down the road over and over again. You got to figure out if you got guys that can play.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
No one can look me in the
Lane
face,
Johnson
John.
is not getting through a season. We know Kelsey's already starting to break down.
You can't think like that when you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You need impact day one starters tonight.
But if Lane Johnson goes down and you have no one to replace him, are you set that Dillard is that guy?
Dillard's on the Titans.
Oh, well then whoever it is that we have, I'm sorry.
But there's
picks. Nobody.
There's more picks than 10 and 30. You have a 62 in the second round.
I hear you. But that's also where, in my opinion, running backs come in. There has been more Pro Bowl running backs in the past decade go in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round than any other position.
I think Bijan's special.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he's not special. I just think the gap between running backs and every other position is so big in the NFL right now.
Yeah, but John, the gap between Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs is exponential.
Yeah.
Exponential.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bijan's the only first-round running back that goes. Yes. I'm just not taking a first-round running back. It's just not me. I'm not doing it. The history has shown that there is studs in the running back position throughout the draft. Like no other position. There's no other position that can guarantee that as much as running back.
It's the biggest hole on the roster in knowing who your starter is, besides maybe linebacker.
Rashad Penny is a starting running back in this league.
I mean, you're worried about Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey making it through a season. Rashad Penny pays rent on IR.
I agree with you, but he's also never had this offensive line, and he also has other running backs that are going to take this field. He's not going to be a third down back, right? You know Gainwell's going to take that. So he's only going to be a first and second down back. Goal line, you got Jalen. He's not going to be getting a lot of the touchdowns like Jalen will. I think he can hold up for 13, 14 games, which in my opinion puts him at just probably around 11 to 1,300 yards. Same as Miles Sanders got last year. I think he's that good. If he can be healthy for the whole year, he's a top 5 running back. There's your big hot take. That is the top 5 running back in the league next year will be Penny if we get a whole season out of him.
I mean, huge if. I mean, I got a Haas at Texas that I can just plug in and give him the ball for the next 5 years and then not sign him.
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you. I'm not going to be sad.
Franchise tag.
I'm not going to be sad if we end up with Bijan Robinson. All right, it's not a bad pick.
If you want to go dork it up at 30 and pick an offensive lineman, fine.
Oh, you know my pick at 30.
Who's your pick at 30?
It's Washington.
Yeah,
all day.
I put that on Facebook today. Yeah, Darnell Washington.
Yeah, I am in love with this kid.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
6'7", 260.
6'8". Yeah, 6'8". He runs like a deer. Can really get down the seam. Like he's a great blocking tight end, which we need. I'm all over that. If you want to talk about a need, I mean, that's kind of a need. You have Dallas Goedert, who's a great tight end, but after that, it's no one.
Comments here. Bob Brinkman, let's get Bijan. Hope we can move up and get he likes Michael Meyer.
That's another one I'm not from Notre Dame. Yeah, I'm not going to be sad about that.
I think he's better than Kincaid.
Yeah, so do I. Kincaid seems to be the number one tight end.
Got to score points. It's an offensive league.
The only other thing I would say is if somehow Brian Branch falls to 30. Right? That I don't think that's going to happen, but on the outside chance that does happen, that would be my pick.
I mean, they can hop back up.
You can hop back up. Yeah, you like you said, you have tons of picks.
Of a difference maker. Yeah, you can hop back up. Go get him.
Yeah, I mean he would be a plug and play guy, right? He's a day one starter if we get him.
Yeah, because you got you got Justin Evans.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you signed a couple guys, but no one who really wows the charts. I'm all over Branch. Like I said, I think he's a plug and play, first day starter, comes from a great program in Alabama, right? Like I'm all over that.
what's that? Dan Katz. Bijan's a lock for offensive rookie of the year if we draft him. Bijan's a lock for offensive rookie of the year, no matter who picks him.
You can't say that.
Yes,
You
I
can't
can.
say that over a quarterback.
I just did.
It's
I just did.
a quarterback will always be the favorite for rookie of the year.
Wasn't last year. Who won last year? Did Fields win last year? Or did Garrett Wilson?
No. Who won the rookie of the year? Wilson,
Garrett
right?
Wilson.
Yeah.
That's not a quarterback.
True. I'm sure Garrett Wilson wasn't a favorite, though. I'm sure the quarterbacks were favorites.
Bijan on DraftKings was, and we'll check it out, this Tropicana Sportsbook.
Right, when we get there.
When we get there, it was like 4.5, 5 to 1, I think it was.
Yeah.
He was the favorite. Bijan. Bryce Young was second.
If he goes to Atlanta, is he a favorite?
Yes.
Yeah?
Right. Yes. I don't think you're comprehending how good this kid is.
Maybe I'm not.
Daniel Jeremiah, who I'm not a mock draft guy. Everyone thinks they're an expert this kind of time of year, and we're just not, ourselves included. None of us know what's going to happen. None of these guys know how an 18-year-old kid is going to transition into playing professional football for a living as opposed to amateur in the collegiate level. But Daniel Jeremiah, he's pretty good, and he has Bijan Robinson as his third overall player in the whole draft.
I think a lot of people do. Right? You have Carter and Anderson and then him.
But Daniel Jeremiah is not a clown.
No.
Daniel Jeremiah calls Chargers games. He works on NFL Network. He's got a great podcast with Bucky Brooks, and he's been in the war room in Philadelphia.
Right.
I'm sure he's been in the war room with other teams as well. I don't know his resume, but if he has Bijan Robinson as the third overall player in the whole draft, and sorry, I'm not buying Kenneth Gainwell, Brashard Penny, Boston Scott committee backfield to start the season. I don't think that's good enough in an offensive league. I just don't.
It was good enough last year to get us there. I mean, Miles Sanders is not that big of a difference.
That's where we disagree. Miles Sanders.
He had a great year last year. But, I mean, are you really saying that he's that big of a difference from Gainwell? I think Gainwell had better yards per average than he did.
Gainwell's better than Miles Sanders.
Okay. Then you don't think we could get back to the Super Bowl with Gainwell? I don't understand it.
Giving yourself the best chance for success is to add a stable 3-down tailback, automatic starter to this offense.
If Lane Johnson gets hurt, if Kelsey gets hurt, we're in a lot worse shape than if Robinson gets hurt. If Robinson gets hurt, I guarantee you Penny will do just fine. If Lane Johnson gets hurt and we have no one, I guarantee you we will be in trouble.
They're going to have someone. They always have depth on the offensive line.
You do when you draft it every year. That's why.
Well, you know what? You can't draft everyone. And you can't. I'm not buying any of these tackles except for maybe Broderick Jones at the top half of this draft.
That's why I said that. Broderick Jones is my pick at 10.
Like Skowronski, no. Paris Johnson, no. Darnell Wright can't play the left side, so I'm not picking him in the first round.
I'm all for Broderick Jones. I think he could play inside. I think he could play tackle. Comes from a great program.
Swoop, paraphrase his comment, but it takes a lot of pressure off Jalen. I don't need Jalen Hurts when we're 13-2 running jet sweeps in Chicago against a bad team and injuring his shoulder.
That's just bad coaching if that happens. That's nothing that you could put on Jalen. He's going to play the way that he knows how to play.
You don't have to do that if you have Bijan Robinson.
You don't have to do that if you have Gainwell. It doesn't matter who you have. I guess that's my point. Any running back with this offensive line and this team will succeed, just like it has in all years past. You could go all the way back to the Super Bowl year with LeGarrette Blount. Every other running back from that moment on has succeeded in this offense.
There's success, and then there's unique game-breaking ability.
Listen, you're right. I think Bijan Robinson is that game-breaking ability. I'm not denying that. I just think if there's somebody else that you can get to help a need position if injuries happen, I would go depth.
Such a boring thing.
Very boring.
Such a boring.
But it has made us the third best franchise in the last decade, if not more, behind the Chiefs and the Patriots. That philosophy of drafting early in the trenches.
There's other positions. There's other positions in that, and there's other picks to address that. The trenches are very important. Very important. You got this guy with the goofy African name out of Northwestern.
Right.
He'll probably get picked
The
at
edge,
30.
yeah.
The edge. I mean, you want to pick a guard? You want to get guard happy? You can pick Cyrus O'Connor.
Yeah,
Connell,
I'm okay
whatever
with
his
them
name is,
too.
out of Florida. Didn't let up a sack in the SEC at Florida. So like you can dork it up with every pick you want with those offensive and defensive linemen. But 10, go get yourself a game breaker. Go get yourself Bijan Robinson.
Again, I don't want to say I'd be mad because I would not be mad. I just wouldn't do it if I was the GM. That's all.
It's also not. This isn't your run of the mill top 10 drafting team. This team went to the Super Bowl
Correct.
and has the 10th pick by accident. So I think you treat yourself a little bit here.
It is a complete luxury pick that we probably will not have again for the next 5, maybe more years. Yeah, it would be, as you say, a luxury pick to go get the most explosive player left in the draft, which he probably will be when it comes time for us. I would think Carter and Anderson are gone, and yeah, Robinson's probably the next best player in the draft. So if they picked him, I'm not going to be sad.
I mean, if one of the quarterbacks is on the board, I would expect someone to move into 10 to pick him.
Yeah, if Richardson somehow falls, I could see someone really wanting to come up for it. But I'm not trading out of 10 unless it's a huge trade. And I'm sure it's like not getting out of the top 14. So it needs to be one of those top 14 guys moving up, 11 to 14.
I mean, Minnesota likes him. I mean, Tampa says they like him.
Detroit.
I mean, Detroit's got Goff. He's not that
bad. How long do you want to run with Goff, though? I don't know. I mean, I know he's been to a Super Bowl,
They're in
but
the same. They almost made the playoffs last year, and they have 2 picks.
And their division got a lot worse.
And they got just get 2 day 1 starters that can help you. Like, you don't need a quarterback right now. You could kick the can down the road with
You
Goff.
always need a quarterback. That's why they go top picks. You just always, every team needs a quarterback. You're always looking for that next quarterback to take the helm.
Some other comments here. What we got?
Well, where you want to go with 30? Are you okay with trading out, or do you want them to make a selection there?
I mean, if there's a guy you like there, you get the 5th-year option, and that's huge for the salary cap. So, yeah, I would prefer that they make a selection there. I like Forbes out of Mississippi State.
The corner.
A lot. The corner. And I like Darnell Washington a lot. He's a freak. Those would be good. Those would be good picks.
Yeah, I think I said to you before we got on the air here that Branch would be my guy if somehow he fell to 30.
Sure.
I would love that. Washington would be, because I do like that, holding that option year on a guy like that. You're probably not going to pay another tight end because you already got Goddard paid. So holding that option for him would be nice.
And then, the offensive lineman fall, that's when you pick up maybe an offensive lineman there.
Yeah. I don't think it's as heavy offensive line this year as it's been in years past. I do think it's a pretty deep running back draft. I mean, Robinson is your echelon. I'm not taking that away. But I do think it's a very deep running back draft.
Who do you like at running back besides Bijan Robinson?
I love the guy behind him. I'm going to butcher his name. Gibbs, yeah. But Johnson, his backup in Texas. Roschon Johnson. I think he's a great back. He just transitioned to running back a couple of years ago. He just was behind Robinson. I think he's got a ton of talent. I really like him, and you could get him probably in the 6th round. I like Sean Tucker, right from Syracuse. I think he's going to be a good back. And I guess that's my whole point. I've been saying it the whole time here. Any running back will succeed with this Philadelphia Eagles offense. Any running back. Not every offensive lineman, not every wide receiver, not every D lineman is going to succeed like a running back will.
I hope they pick Bijan Robinson.
I won't cry. That's for damn sure. I mean, I'll cheer and be happy.
And they pick Paris Johnson or Peter Skowronski.
Yeah, I could be a little bit down on that.
I'll throw up.
Yeah, I could be a little bit down on that. Paris Johnson, yes. Skowronski, I think, just gives you a little bit more versatility. He could play in and out. Paris Johnson, I'm kind of out on
though. Jake Friel, rumors are going around the Cardinals are working on a deal to move out of number 3.
Right.
Well, they're doomed because they have that idiot
Murray.
Jonathan Gannon.
Oh, well, Gannon's their head coach. Right. Yeah, I think I named the 3 teams that would be high on that list would be Tennessee, Vegas, and Atlanta. I think are your 3 teams probably really trying to get up to that 3 spot to land one of the quarterbacks. I think after the top 2 quarterbacks, especially if C.J. Stroud falls to 3, I can see a lot of teams trying to get up there to get him. But Richardson is my darling of this draft. I think the ceiling is just to heaven with that guy. He has all the skill in the world to be great. I hope that he finds the right system to be in to really let him succeed.
Where was it at Florida, though?
I don't think he was bad in Florida. I mean, he was so much better than what people expected.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't horrible, though. I mean, a lot of those interceptions were not his fault. If you look back at all the tapes, they really weren't his fault. A lot of them were missed or tipped passes from his wide receivers. He really did not have a bad year.
So, like 6-6 at Florida is going to save an NFL franchise?
I mean, you could say that about a lot of guys.
Will Levis isn't going to save anybody's franchise either.
Why? I don't understand how you can just outright say that. Will Levis probably has the best arm in the draft.
I've seen a lot of guys with good arms fail.
Seen a lot of guys, the number 1 pick fail. It depends on the system you get put in.
I picked Stroud first.
No, I'm taking Young. If you had to put a bullet to my head, I'm not taking any of them. I don't really like any of the quarterbacks. But you know a quarterback's going 1, and Bryce Young to me is the best quarterback in the draft. Before we get off and let these guys on, give me your 1 through 10 pick. Let's go down the line and let's see where you're at.
I don't know. Stroud, Young, I guess. Unless there's a trade.
No trades. Yeah.
If the Cardinals are picking,
right.
Will Anderson.
Okay.
4, the Colts need to do something at quarterback.
Right.
So Richardson, who's 5, Seattle.
Yeah.
That guy Tyree Wilson, he looks like a beast.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are liking him.
That could be a good pick.
He's another one, Texas A&M, right? Who really had a bad year, did nothing, but he's really high. A lot of people are talking about him going number 2.
He should go. I mean, Detroit's interesting at 6.
Yes.
I don't know where they go at 6. Maybe a secondary person.
I think that's where Carter goes.
Did I say Carter yet?
No.
Then Carter's going 5th, and then we'll put Wilson 6th.
Okay. Raiders
need defense. Their defense is horrible.
They need a quarterback also.
Well, they have Jimmy G.
For a year, maybe.
I mean, they paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Forbes is the best secondary person in the whole draft.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
over Gonzalez?
Me and the consensus cornerback rankings don't get along too good.
Okay.
8 is Atlanta.
Yep.
Did I pick Stroud yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, this
Atlanta,
is where I see Bijan going at 8. I think it's
well, that's where you just make a call and move up 2 spots
yeah.
and grab him. The second Jalen Carter or Bijan Robinson gets picked, I'm on the phone with every team trying to get up and
Trying to
get
move up.
one of them.
Yeah, I do think 6 goes Carter, 8 goes Bijan.
I mean, like, Bijan doesn't make any sense for the Bears because they're rebuilding.
Correct. The
So
Bears
take your boy Broderick Jones at 9.
Yeah, they go offensive line.
And then you got the Eagles at 10 with Bijan.
You're hoping Bijan. Okay.
All right, we'll hand it over
Sounds
to
good.
City That Never Sleeps.
Appreciate it, guys. Have fun with the draft. Go Birds.
Yes, we are. Mic on? We're good?
Yep.
All right. Hey, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. We're obviously the host of the City That Never Sleeps show. Time to talk some New York draft stuff. And while it may not be as eventful as the Eagles, because Eagles picking 2 times in the first round this year, still, big stuff. Jets just traded for Aaron Rodgers. And as much as that may not seem like it affects how the draft is going to go, I truly think it does, because we've talked about this before. We talked about this on Tuesday. The trade for Rodgers now may change how the Jets go about their first pick in the draft, specifically number 13 or 15 now because of the trade.
Yep.
In your opinion, we have talked so much.
Yes.
Offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. Do you think that is still a lock, or do you think now another position may be in play?
No, we were talking about this on the ride here, all the way from North Jersey, and going down, I was still with the idea. O-line, got to get tackle with the first pick. Maybe seems the best options on the board. But then you brought up a point where if JSN falls to that 15 spot or falls near it, what do they do there? And now, could they go wide receiver just to bolster that wide receiver? You made a great point with that. And then it leaves to other positions too. Maybe the offense got figured out. Maybe you go defense now. Just keep adding on to the defense. It raises a lot of questions. I feel like it was more cut and paste before with O-line, but now I really like the idea for wide receiver that you brought up.
Yeah, so we got Ryan in the chat saying, "Where are you guys? Ocean City." Yeah, we're in all campus here on the boardwalk. Same spot, doing the show here. Then obviously we will also be at the Tropicana tonight. You'll be seeing some of our draft stuff later. But to the point that you brought up, I read something a few days ago about the Jets' draft perspective and what the Jets may do. And it all comes down to how they feel about the O-line and their specific O-line. If they feel good about Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown, Max Mitchell, if they feel good about their depth, now you can look into JSN if he reaches you at 15 or maybe gets to a 13, 14 spot. Maybe you can go a Kalijah Cansey. Maybe you can go a Nolan Smith. You can look at some of these positions that may have an immediate impact versus, let's face it, a guy like Broderick Jones, a guy like Darnell Wright. That's still my first choice. That's still the first choice I would go with. Is that guy getting on the field right away? Is that guy immediately usurping Mitchell or Becton or Brown? Or are you making a pick for a team in a Super Bowl window? Because let's face it, that is what the Jets are in now. That is what they are going for. Are you making a pick that is not immediately impacting the Aaron Rodgers-led New York Jets? And that's what it comes down to. So it opens up the doors to a bunch of different things. A guy like JSN, right? You're pairing him with his college teammate in Garrett Wilson on top of Allen Lazard and potentially Corey Davis. That is a very talented wide receiver room. And that's not even including your fifth guy in Mecole
That's what we've been
Hardman.
talking about too. You've been talking about you want another guy in that wide receiver room, and could this be the spot for that? Could he be the answer?
It could be. I personally have been, and this is before we talked about this today, I've been, yeah, let's just take a wide receiver later in the draft. Let's take a guy that isn't at top, because you can get that same type of talent round 2, round 3, round 4, so on and so forth. But if he's there, you draft JSN. There's not many secondaries in the NFL that are going to be able to cover Garrett Wilson, JSN, Allen Lazard, Corey Davis.
With Rodgers giving them the ball.
With Rodgers. And we're not even naming Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzomah. We're not naming Breece Hall out of the backfield. You are setting yourself up to have an insanely good offense, but the only way that can happen is if you feel comfortable with that offensive line that you already have.
No, yeah, just to touch on the points that you made prior, I feel like they are in a pick position where it's now picking players not to build. They want to win now. Like you said, Aaron Rodgers is going to be here, hopefully 2 to 3 years, and that's what you got him for. That's why you're giving him all this money. Like, what did we say? He's making $107 million in the next year?
In the next year.
So that's money that you want to win now.
Exactly.
So now looking at just what we're going for, who do you think the players are going to be that are NFL ready at pick 15? Because the Jets are playing the waiting game now. We're at a pick where you got to see where everything happens, where the players go. I mean, you've come up with a bunch of names, but we don't have the luxuries of top 5, top 10 picks. We get to sit back and relax and wait to see who falls to us.
It's a very unique situation. We got Dan in the chat saying Jets will not make it past Mahomes, let alone Burrow. They probably won't even beat the Bills for the division, but
it's a situation for another time.
Here's the thing with that, right? You can't think like that. You can't make your moves like, oh, we're not going to get past Mahomes. You have to go all in this window, because it's not like Rodgers can be playing for another 10 years. You're getting 2 years, maybe 3 years max. So that brings us to the way the draft board kind of is falling, right? We've talked about it. JSN, obviously. Kalijah Kancey. If not them, I still think offensive line is important because you need that depth.
Yes.
But the Jets are in such a unique position because this is a team that has been so used to picking top 5, no later than the top 10, having their choice at that upper blue chip prospect. They don't really have that luxury right now. So, once again, I am very interested to see what they're doing. And I also want to bring up this point. Are we not considering the trade market enough for maybe some of their needs?
Seems like something they're going to look at now, since we all knew the Rodgers deal was going to happen. We were sitting on it for a while. It was making us a little nervous, but obviously it happened. Again, I brought it up on a couple shows previously that this is something maybe in the offseason they'll do with trades. I don't think right now trade's the answer. You're going to find a guy in the draft. I mean, what I have right here, they need O-tackle, interior O-line, safety, linebacker. Those are my 4 big needs. And then wide receivers a luxury like we talked about before. I don't see them trading for anyone unless, hey, we've seen crazier things on draft night. Joe Douglas last year did a great job. I don't see him going crazy tonight and trading up. But again, like John said before, no one here is a draft expert. No one knows what's going to happen. Anything can happen. Is there something you're looking for at all?
So my needs are very similar to yours, but I'm going my number 1 needs tackle, and then it's most likely either center, safety, linebacker, and then probably receiver. So it's like a top 5. But I bring up the trade aspect because something that's been very interesting, I wanted to hear your opinion. The Commanders didn't pick up Chase Young's 5th-year option. So now he is playing out the last year of his deal. If you're the Jets, are you willing to take some more future assets from next year to trade for a guy like Chase Young to maybe give you a potential future option? Yeah, yes, he doesn't have that 5th-year option now, but maybe you can sign him for a cheaper deal. And then you have Chase Young along with Bryce Huff, Jermaine Johnson. Does that now allow you to use a different pick this year? Maybe that 43rd pick now goes towards a safety like a Brian Branch or an Antonio Johnson instead of having to draft an edge. But on the flip side, are you not making that trade because you want to have more years of control for that edge? It's just something I wanted to throw out there because I think that's the type of trade you're looking at now for the Jets. You're looking at these guys that maybe on an expiring deal, but are willing to play and be a part of a contender.
You saying this trade would happen tonight?
Maybe not tonight. Maybe
Just in
maybe
the-
a night too. Just
Well,
in general.
I would do anything for a player like Chase Young. That's where that's set up. No one in the draft. Obviously, he's shown on the NFL level that he can do something. Someone like that, I'm not expecting anything like Chase Young because we've seen what he can do. He's one of the best defensive ends in the whole entire league
when healthy.
when he's on
when
the field.
healthy, yeah.
And you know what? Guys get hurt. Guys get beat up. He'll be back. He'll be at full strength and he'll be solid. But no, obviously that changes everything. Chase Young.
It'd be a great swing. It'd be a great addition to any NFL defense,
What are
let
the
alone the
chances
Jets.
Chase Young comes to the Jets?
I'm just saying, is it that far fetched? It seems like the Commanders are out on him. They're letting him play out his contract. A trade isn't this completely far fetched thing for the Jets, maybe, but this idea of Chase Young being traded isn't this ludicrous idea anymore.
I trade every pick in the draft for Chase Young.
I don't
That
know
might
about
be the
that.
case. Not every.
I don't know
pick.
about that.
I'd give 1 and 2. Maybe gets a 2 in return.
An expiring deal, I'm going like a 3.
But now we're back in that are we in a win
Right.
now mindset.
That is very true.
That's fine.
So I guess before we move on to some Giants discussion, what is your prediction for tonight's pick? So for those that don't know, Jets were at the 13th overall pick. They're now at the 15th overall pick. That is a result of the Aaron Rodgers trade where the Jets traded, or they flipped first round picks. They traded number 42 pick in this year's draft and a conditional second round pick that becomes a first round pick next year if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. What position do you think they're looking at? What guy do you think it is? And maybe give 2 other potential options.
Yes. So currently, I'm still sticking with the O tackle position, and I think it's based on who's left on the board. I think they're going to go with the best option between my rankings. I had Johnson Jr., Jones, Anton Harrison, Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones. It's going to be one of those guys I think it's the best available. Who I would want, who I feel like makes the most sense, Broderick Jones. I think the guy is a brick wall. He's ginormous. On the tackle, hopefully his speed is there. It's hard. You have to get around the guy to get to the quarterback. So I feel like he's the best option. And if he's still available, that's who I'd want. But I feel like it's going to be the O tackle position. Whoever's the best available on the board, they're going to go with. And then 2 other positions with that first pick. I like the wide receiver. If JSN's still there, JSN. I don't think they'd take a different receiver if JSN left. I'm curious how you feel about that. I was going to ask you if you'd even put into consideration taking another receiver after that.
Yeah.
And then after that, the board gets kind of weird.
Gets
When's Branch supposed to go?
Branch?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even pick him till late first. I mid first. I feel like it's too early for him.
So I
But
feel like if you get to the point where you have an O tackle that you don't like, you're going to trade back.
and this ties into what I want to talk about. We got Dan in the chat saying Broderick Jones seems like a Jets pick at 15. Probably have to trade up for Paris Johnson. Doubt Skoronski falls enough to be viable. So that's kind of where it starts for me, right? O tackle is my selection. But you nailed it in the sense of it matters who's there. You've heard the rumblings, Paris Johnson Jr. going potentially 3, maybe even top 5. I don't think he falls anywhere near 15. Skoronski is my number one guy that I would want in the sense of he would add that versatility that they have in Elijah Vera Tucker. He would be that perfect answer for a team that has had so many offensive line injuries, so many different injuries where you're having 5th string, 4th string guys starting games for you consistently. He would be able to play guard, be able to play tackle, be able to flip-flop. Obviously, you want a guy to get comfortable at a specific position, but Skoronski would allow you to be flexible and not be pigeonholed with one offensive line combination. I don't know. I feel like there's a shot he gets there, but at the same time, is he getting past Chicago? Is he getting past Tennessee? Is he getting past Green Bay? Is he getting past New England? It's a lot of guys that has to get by. My pick is probably Broderick Jones as well. But on the other hand, I think if Jones isn't there, I think your last guy in terms of tackle is Darnell Wright. I feel like if Darnell Wright is the guy on the board, the Jets still go with him. But if Darnell Wright is gone, the next guy is Anton Harrison. I'm not picking Anton Harrison at 15. Then you move down the board, right? If Harrison's there, but you obviously don't want Harrison at 15, maybe you feel like that's a reach unless you're in love with him as a player, who's on the board at receiver. If JSN's there, I'm probably going JSN. And then, honestly, I'm trading down from 42, recouping a third-round pick, getting a later pick in the second round. That way I can add a safety, add a later offensive lineman in the draft. If JSN isn't there, I'm not reaching for any other receiver at that spot. Zay Flowers is very talented. Quentin Johnson, very talented. You could argue some other guys as well. But, I'd rather, at that point, if JSN isn't there, Josh Downs. Later in the second, maybe even third. Jalen Hyatt. These different guys that I feel like are more valuable, but you don't need to spend a first-round pick on. Then my last thing that I'm looking at, defensive tackle or edge. Is Kalijah Cansey still there? Has Jalen Carter somehow fallen to 15? Is Nolan Smith there? Is Tyree Wilson for some reason these type of guys where if they're there, I'm going to take a swing on them. I'm going to take a swing on them and bank on my coaching staff and Robert Saleh to make them perform at their highest level. And if those positions aren't there, if you don't feel comfortable with the guys at those positions, I'm trading down. Because, guess what? Let's say you trade down from a 15 to a 22.
Okay.
Let's say, and this will transition to our next aspect, let's say the Giants want to come up for a cornerback. New York on New York trade. Jets trade down to that type of range. Guess what? Anton Harrison, that pick looks a little bit better in the mid-20s than it does at 15. A Miles Murphy, that pick looks a bit better in the mid-20s than it does at 15. Zay Flowers looks a whole lot better in that range than it does at 15. So what am I trying to say here? If the guy you want isn't there, if Jones, Wright, JSN, Cansey, I'd even say Nolan Smith aren't there, I'm trading down from the pick because I'm confident I can get a very similar player while recouping assets, while probably getting another second-round pick, maybe even a fourth. Getting a pick in each round, allowing you to spread out the draft picks, fill a few different holes, and overall make the roster that much better.
The big thing about draft, get the value where it's supposed to get found. I mean, the worst thing you do is pick a guy way too high up and make a mistake and let a guy slide. You want to get into the Giants?
Yeah. So the Giants, in all honesty, I think their needs are pretty easy. Cornerback, wide receiver, those first-round selections. Yeah. I think unless they want to go with a Brian Branch, safety is probably going to be more of a round 2 thing. It all depends who's there. And I think that's what it comes down to. All depends who is there. So if you want to pull up the current draft order just to see where the Giants are at, I'm pretty sure that the teams around them.
25 teams around them. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
Where do you want to hear from?
Just hear like the 2 or 3 in front of them.
All right, Vikings 23, Jacksonville 24. Minnesota should be looking cornerback, wide receiver as well. Jacksonville's looking more edge, O-tackle.
I'd say Jacksonville's probably looking corner as well.
You think?
Yeah, 100%. And who's in front of Minnesota as well?
Chargers.
Cornerback, wide receiver. So this is the issue when it comes to the Giants. They have this need, but because, and we've talked about this, because of a roster that really overachieved, which is a good thing, get that playoff experience, but you still have holes that you need to fill, and now you're later in the draft. Now you're not in this position where you have your pick of a top 3 corner. Now you're maybe getting the number 4 or 5 guy. So that brings us to, you're in that Emmanuel Forbes, that, you're not in that Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter, Devon Witherspoon range. You're in that back half of the top 6. Wide receiver. JSN, no shot. Zay Flowers might be gone. Quentin Johnson might be gone. Are you going to reach for a Jordan Addison, who a lot of people have size concerns about? Are you picking a Jalen Hyatt in the first round? That's where this trade-up scenario for the Giants, who have draft ammo, becomes realistic. I truly think if the Giants are so dead set on a specific player, they need to trade up. They need to go get their guy, because if they sit on their hands, Minnesota's going to take the corner they want. The Chargers are going to take the corner receiver that they want. The Giants are going to have to settle. And in the draft, having to settle, we've seen this with this specific organization before, it never works out well.
No. And now I'm looking just to think about it. All right, what have the Giants been looking at the whole offseason? I'll read a comment real fast. Go for it.
So Dan asked, so y'all are New York fans but part of A2D. Are you guys guests? I just thought A2D was mainly Philly sports. Yes, we are a part of A2D, but we are the New York show of A2D. We diverge a little bit from the beaten path, if that makes a little sense. So we give a bit of a different perspective in terms of covering the New York sports, because everything isn't always Philly, as much as some Philly fans would have you believe. So yeah, back to the Giants.
But no, I was saying, so the whole offseason, Giants have been focused on what? Offense. They've been going with offense.
Yeah.
I think they're going to stick with it. I think they're going with wide receiver with that first pick. I feel like the fans are going to love it. They're going to want to bolster that offense as much as possible, because you know what? They can pick as many times in the draft as they want. They are nowhere now. I'll give a shout out to Philly. They're nowhere near Philly. It's not going to happen. Not
nowhere
even
close. Nowhere close.
And no way the draft is going to push them ahead of them, especially with Philly having 2 picks in the first round. But they got to find pieces for the future, because their time is not now. No offense to Giants fans out there.
Oh no, and but we've spoke about this during the year. This Giants roster overachieved. They don't have the talent to be an upper echelon team in the NFC yet. They were probably a year or 2 away, but they overachieved. They made the playoffs, and now that clock's got to be accelerated. A guy like Quentin Johnson has to follow them. You're banking on that if you're the Giants, and if not, what are you going to do? You're picking another slot guy on a team that already is dominated by slot guys? I feel like Quentin Johnson has to be their pick. Or, on the flip side, you go corner, which I don't even know what corner is going to be available for their pick. You're hoping a Joey Porter slide helps you maybe get an Emmanuel Forbes or someone along those lines. But you would have to go corner, so you can pick a Michael Wilson, a Cedric Tillman, a bulkier, taller wide receiver that, let's face it, in this wide receiver class are few and far between. You have a lot of small burners, which the Giants already have. So it's a very tricky, very interesting spot for this team. And that's something they have to grapple with.
Best case scenario would be Quinn Johnson by far.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But read off your cornerback rankings, because let's see.
I got 5 names here. Witherspoon, Porter, Gonzalez, Banks, and then Forbes.
Do you think any of those guys have a shot to make it to the Giants? So let's read off the draft order, and let's see how many corners we think can go before the Giants.
Panthers, Texans, Cardinals. No.
Well, those first 2 I feel like are quarterback.
Quarterback.
Well, Panthers, definitely quarterback. Texans, edge or quarterback. Cardinals, if they stay in that spot, which I truly don't think they're staying, they could go a guy like Witherspoon. But I don't think corner goes 3.
Colts,
Quarterback.
Seahawks, they don't need quarterback.
Interior,
yes.
Probably defensive line.
Lions.
Potential. That's the first one where I'm like potentially cornerback, because they traded Jeff Okudah earlier this offseason. That is a big need for them. I think that's where you see a Witherspoon or Gonzalez go. So let's say that the Lions are that first team that goes cornerback.
Okay. Raiders.
I could see it. 100% could see it.
They need a lot more.
They need a lot more than corner, but depends how the draft board falls.
There's too many good interior guys to go corner. I feel like that early.
So you think the Raiders are going more trenches?
Yes.
All right, okay.
I think most teams. Falcons, I feel like, are the first team that could go cornerback.
I feel like they're a Bijan landing
Well,
spot,
also
though.
Bijan.
Do you want? All right. So for the sake of this exercise, do you want to say Falcons go corner?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll
so,
say one of them.
All right. So there's two.
Bears.
No.
No. Eagles.
Potentially, but I'm gonna go with no.
Titans.
No.
Texans again.
Whatever.
I feel like they're going in the
I
trenches
feel
too.
like that's their quarterback selection. And if,
Oh.
I feel like they're going quarterback with their second pick, and then if not, Trey Lance will be a Texan by the end of the draft.
Wait. Who do you think's going second?
I think Will Anderson.
Really?
I think Will. I have a weird feeling that the Texans are going to try and to use a line. I feel like the Texans might play themselves, where they try to get the guy they want at quarterback with their second pick, and it just doesn't work out the way they think, and then they're holding the empty paper bag.
Yeah. The sad kid on Halloween.
Yeah.
Then we got Packers.
I don't think they go corner.
No. Patriots.
No.
Jets.
No.
Commanders. Possibly.
So we have two in what? The first 16?
2, possibly 3.
Okay.
Steelers.
Yes, 100%.
Lions again. So that's why I could see Lions taking
right.
one before.
All right, so we have 3, whether it's the Lions at one of their spots, the Steelers, and for this exercise, I think we said the Falcons.
But probably not. But that just
Falcons or Raiders.
Buccaneers.
No, I don't
Seahawks.
think so. Seahawks in this spot, yes.
Dolphins.
No, Dolphins picks forfeited.
Oh, why?
The Tom Brady saga.
That's hilarious. Chargers.
Yes.
Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we're back up.
So guess what? You're at 5 cornerbacks before the Giants have even made their selection. Are you reaching for that 6th corner in the draft? Maybe not, but that's where the Quentin Johnson.
I feel like if 5
play comes into
cornerbacks
play.
get taken, then receivers
Exactly.
going to fall down.
You could also have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
But I don't think the receivers go that fast, but the receiver they want might go that fast. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with how the Giants go about their draft. So with both Giants, Jets talk being covered, let's go a little bit overall draft. What do you think is going to be? What do you think is going to be your biggest surprise of the night, and why?
Biggest surprise. What did I say in the car? It had to be. Now that we're talking, Jets trade out. Jets trade back.
You think Jets trade back?
Biggest surprise is probably not the most surprising. I'm not thinking the most surprising thing right now. I'm going Jets moving back. I'll stick with the New York sports.
My biggest surprise, I think we see a Will Levis slide. And this could be completely wrong. Maybe it's Stroud. I personally feel like you can flip the discourse that you had with Stroud and Levis in a sense of, I feel like a lot of the Stroud discourse has been of the mentality of let's push this guy down the board so we can have him, so we can make sure we get him. Whereas I think a lot of the Levis discourse is him getting propped up to make teams think that they want him, but no one actually really wants him. So very interested to see how it plays out. Very interested to see how the draft goes, but I think that's going to bring us to...
Real quick, give me your first 2 picks.
First
Jets,
2 picks?
for the Jets.
For the Jets. Oh, you want to go second round pick too?
Yeah, go for it. We have the...
So it's only night 1 tonight, though.
Doesn't matter. Give predictions.
Predictions. I'm going to go with Broderick Jones and trade out of 43 to a later second round pick, where they end up going with Steve Avila.
All right. I'm sticking with Broderick Jones. I know my surprise is trade out, but stick with Broderick Jones. And then, you know what? Maybe possibly surprise trade out, get Jack Campbell.
So, I love that too. But that's going to bring us to the end of this show, the end of this episode of the Rant Booth. Thank you guys for joining us on a great episode. We will catch you guys very soon. We will be at the Tropicana covering some draft stuff. If you guys want to come see us, we will be there. So once again, thank you guys for joining us. We will catch you next time.